Hello guys, and welcome to Dreamy Minds. There is a stillness that only exists at night, not the absence of sound, but the deep hush of listening. Somewhere in the dark arms of a forest, under its cathedral of leaves, the world sighs and sleeps. You are safe now, safe to close your eyes and fall into the cool, moss-soft world beneath thought. There's no need to be anywhere but here. Tonight, let's slip quietly between the trees, not with footsteps, but with wonder, like a breeze moving through branches, like stars peeking through a canopy of dreams. Because in the forest at night, 1,000 tiny worlds awaken. Owl hearts thrum with quiet knowing. Mushrooms glow faintly, trees pulse in ancient rhythms, and deep within your own brain, in the dark spaces between thought and sleep, tiny symphonies of science play softly on. This is where neuroscience becomes lullaby, where psychology hums like wind through pine needles, where the biology of night creatures echoes the secret inner forest of your mind. Let this be your path to sleep, a trail of stories, soft science, and hush-toned wonder. We'll explore 100 fascinating night-bound facts, but gently, slowly, like moonlight spilling through old branches. Not to learn, but to sink sweetly into knowing. So rest now. Unravel your thoughts like threads of old twilight. Breathe slowly. The forest is waiting, and it understands silence. Close your eyes. Let the shadows fall softly now. Let the edges of the day blur like watercolor bleeding gently into dusk. And listen, not to the world outside, but to something deeper, something older. Beneath you, beneath the floors and the soil, beneath memory, beneath everything, there are roots. There is a forest below the forest, and it is listening. The night dew gathers on leaves above, but it is not just the canopy that hushes with stillness. It is the network beneath, a tangle of life like the nerves of the earth, stretching long and wide in whispered conversation. It's easy to think of trees as still things, as background, as structure, as silence. But in the quiet of night, something more is happening. Under every forest, just beneath our feet, there is a pulse. Not in the human sense, not a heartbeat, but a rhythm, a responsiveness. Science now calls it the wood wide web, an underground network of mycorrhizal fungi that connects tree roots to one another in delicate, thread-like bridges. These filaments, called hyphae, are so fine, so impossibly thin, that a single teaspoon of soil can hold miles of them. And through these silent strands, the forest speaks, or more accurately, it listens, it signals, it remembers, it responds. Older trees, sometimes called mother trees, have been shown to send nutrients to younger saplings, sharing carbon with shaded seedlings not yet able to photosynthesize. If a tree is damaged or dying, it can warn others, sending chemical signals of stress down through the fungal network, prompting their neighbors to shore up defenses, to thicken their bark, to create chemical compounds that deter pests. And when a tree dies, its stored carbon doesn't vanish. It is often absorbed and redistributed, almost like a will being written, a legacy passed along. It's not consciousness, not in the way we define it from the surface, but it is intelligence, slow, sprawling, somatic wisdom, a knowing that exists not in neurons, but in shared roots and fungal threads. This is the forest nervous system. Even above these silent underground paths, trees are paying attention to the sky. Yes, even to the moon. It may seem impossible. Trees don't have eyes, but they do have light receptors. Photoreceptors, specifically, molecules that respond to the subtle shifts in sunlight, twilight, and yes, even to the soft silver glow of moonlight. In laboratories and moonlit woods alike, researchers have found that trees are attuned to lunar cycles. Just as the ocean tides respond to the moon's pull, so do certain tree species subtly adjust their activity. shifting water within their trunks, altering growth patterns, or timing their flowering. In time, with the waxing and waning of the moon, one quiet study showed that birch trees moved more water through their trunks during the night, aligning with moonrise and moonset as if following some ancient gravitational choreography. In the dark, the forest isn't idle. It's dreaming, moving, breathing in time with the sky. And so are you. Now let your breath deepen. Feel your inhale like the rise of morning mist, and your exhale like dew falling from a leaf. Because tonight, we're entering the idea of memory, not just as a human concept, but as something biologically shared across life. Trees remember, not memories as we understand them, stories or visions, but chemical cellular memory. For example, when a tree survives a drought, it doesn't simply recover, it adapts. It modifies how open its stomata, its leaf pores, will be in the future. It adjusts how much water it stores. It expresses different genes. It becomes, in essence, a living memory of hardship, so that next time it's better prepared. Science calls this epigenetic memory, changes that don't alter the DNA itself, but influence how that DNA is used based on past experience. We do the same. Trauma, stress, safety, hope, they don't just come and go. They mark us. They leave echoes in how we breathe, how we trust, how we grow. And so, perhaps it's not just poetic to say, you and the tree are not so different. You both survive. You both adapt. You both remember. And somewhere inside you, your roots remember moonlight too. If there are threads connecting these ancient beings below us, then the fungi are the storytellers. Mycorrhizal fungi are not just passive bridges. They seek out roots. They offer nutrients in exchange for sugar. They create relationships, partnerships. It's not romance, but it is intimacy. And through this intimacy, stories spread, not as fairy tales, but as information carried in molecules. Timing and tension, like a forest, speak beneath hearing. Studies show fungi can prioritize certain connections. Amplifying signals, much like our own brains, reinforce important communication pathways via synaptic plasticity. Fungi remember too. Recent findings suggest their electrical activity follows patterns that resemble simple information processing. In one experiment, fungal networks pulsed with distinct bursts resembling language syntax, pauses and groupings as if speaking, not with words, but biochemically, a kind of data, a kind of dreaming. Just like neurons whispering in your own brain, tiny firings in the dark, waiting to bloom into thoughts. Pause. Feel the space between words now. Let a silence sit softly in your chest. There is a stillness in the forest, but it is the stillness of deep presence, of things becoming slowly. We live in a world that's obsessed with speed, with visible change, with constant motion. But in the forest, slow is sacred. What grows slowly grows strong. The redwood, reaching 200 feet, started as a seed the size of a grain of rice during a moonlit spring you never knew. The trees don't rush. They understand something we are trying to remember. That real transformation happens in the dark, underground, invisible, uncertain. Just as healing does. The human brain, your brain, is also a network, also full of pathways and hidden roots. In the silence of sleep, when awareness fades, great and gentle things begin. Just like the forest, neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change, to shape, to form new connections, happens not during intense thinking, but often during slow rest, gentle dreaming. The soft twilight state, just as you are in now. Somewhere, deep in sleep, your neurons settle like fog settling in a pine valley. They weave new links, strengthen old ones, and prune away the unnecessary, like a quiet gardener tending an emotional orchard. So let yourself rest in this moment, knowing your brain is doing its own quiet growing. Tonight, you visited an invisible forest, not with your feet, but with your breath, your attention, your curiosity. You've stepped into the world that trees experience, when no one is watching, a world where intelligence is slow, where communication is silent, and where life adapts quietly beneath the knowing gaze of the moon. And perhaps you've noticed that the forest is not just around you, but within you. You carry networks, memories encoded in cell, whispers traveling through time. You host your own inner fungi, your own adaptive, hidden intelligence. And somewhere inside, you too are listening to the dark, sensing the safety of stillness, the way trees do. So for now, let your thoughts become leaves, gently drifting down through layers of self, landing on the soft forest floor of your awareness. Breathe slow, as if the forest is breathing with you. Because it is. In a way you may never fully understand, but won't need to. You're part of the same planet it is. Forged from the same light, rooted in the same mystery. The trees have spoken, in their way. And now, you can begin to forget the edges of the day. Let your own roots stretch through the night. Let your senses quiet. Let your system rest. You are safe. You are loved. You are resting in a forest of knowing, and the moon is listening. Night has deepened. The last colors of the day have closed their eyes, and the sky has grown full and black, like an ink-dipped blanket swaddling the trees. In the hush of this hour, something ancient stirs, not in chaos, not with fanfare, but with a practiced calm, a creature of shadows, of silence, of knowing. The owl, with eyes like ancient orbs lit from within, with wings more silent than breath, it watches, it waits, it listens in a way few can. Let us step quietly now into its world, not with footsteps, but with thought, with observation. You don't need a lantern, you won't disturb it. You are only here to wonder, to listen deep, because tonight we explore a different kind of intelligence, a soft, feathered one, the kind that belongs uniquely to the night. And as we trace the wisdom of the owl, we'll find it points back, gently, to ourselves, to the hidden stillness of the sleeping brain, to the way we dream, compute, remember, even when we think we've drifted far away. Because sleep is not silence, and neither is the mind. The owl does what almost no other bird can do. It flies in utter, complete silence. Its wings are large, but light. Its feathers specially modified, soft-edged, fringed, dusted with down. They don't slice the air, they slip through it, like whispers curling around a doorframe, like breath in winter. Scientists who've recorded owl flight in soundproof labs have marveled at the absence of noise. A barn owl gliding past a row of microphones barely registers a decibel. Its wings generate near zero turbulence. This silence is not an accident of elegance, it is evolutionary design, crafted for survival, engineered to hunt with grace. But beneath that feat of aerial artistry lies something even more incredible. The owl's brain calculates all of this, in real time, mid-air, in darkness. Imagine flying through a forest at night. No streetlights, no trail, trees just silhouettes, leaves invisible. You must steer, pivot, calculate and strike, all in just a few heartbeats. That is the life of an owl. Not chaotic, but extraordinarily aware. Beneath those feathers and that steady gaze lies a finely tuned brain, one that excels at spatial precision, auditory triangulation, and visual mapping. In a way that neuroscientists still study with awe, owls can hear the rustle of a single vole beneath inches of snow. Not just that it is moving, but where exactly? How far? How fast? Their facial discs, that iconic circular shape, function like radial antennas, capturing sound and funneling it inward with nuance. One ear placed slightly higher than the other allows the owl to localize in 3 dimensions. And with an almost supernatural coordination, the owl transforms information into action, slowly rotating its head, sometimes more than 270 degrees, to lock on to its target. That swirl of calculation happens without noise, no inner monologue, no verbal instruction, just pure embodied knowing. Perhaps a bit like the way your own brain works. When you're drifting toward sleep, when logic begins to dissolve, but perception sharpens inward, when you just sense something, even if you don't know why. As you relax tonight, your own brain is shifting gears, not shutting down, but reshuffling. When you are deeply still, eyes closed, breath softened, a subtle network comes alive in your mind. A pattern of activity researchers call the default mode network. A set of brain regions that begin to hum only when the external world fades out. This network is most active when we're unfocused, when we're daydreaming or slipping into reflection, or yes, when we're sleepily staring out a window, lost in thought. It's here that the brain meanders through memory, connects old thoughts to new emotions, untangles social stories, imagines the future. It is the owl's territory, not of logic but of knowing, not of calculation but elegant pattern. And it stays active even at rest. Even now, as your body settles under blankets, some part of your mind is gently soaring through its own quiet maps. As you drift closer to sleep, your brainwaves change tempo, like music softening into twilight. From the fast, choppy beats of alertness, you slip into theta waves, a frequency known for unlocking a more open, imaginative internal rhythm. Children spend more time in theta. So do seasoned meditators. And so do you when you're on the edge of sleep, that dreamy in-between, where images bloom and thoughts don't need permission. Like the owl scanning shadows, theta waves let your mind gather ideas in the dark. And even though you're barely aware of it, emotions are filing themselves away. Memories are quietly catalogued. New neural paths are being sparked and laid as you begin to surrender to sleep. Intelligence isn't always fast or flashy. Sometimes it moves like feathers through night air. Let your breath feel light now. Float, because your mind, too, has a kind of night vision. Something ancient, something felt. We can call it intuition. The soft knowing that arrives without needing to be summoned. The sort of understanding that comes as a feeling when the answer simply rises, like an owl from the tree, sudden and sure. Neuroscience shows us where that intuition might come from. The limbic system interacting with memory networks. The brain's pattern detectors quietly adding 2 and 2 under the surface. No conscious math, just knowing. It's part of the reason we dream solutions, why we sleep on it. And in the morning, a decision has made itself clear. Overnight, the owl in our brain did its work. No flash, no force, just quiet gliding, soft rotation, steering gently toward truth. Across cultures and continents, humans have associated the owl not with fear, but with wisdom. You'll find them perched on the shoulders of deities, painted in caves, carved in ancient wood, a guardian of dreams, a protector of the unseen. Perhaps it's the way owls seem to hold secrets in their stillness. Perhaps it's their patience, their ability to move without needing to chase. But spiritually and psychologically, we project our need for quiet understanding onto them. They become archetypes of calm perception, of depth without noise, just as your sleeping mind carries wisdom, even when your waking mind feels lost, even if your thoughts are tangled, your deeper self does not panic in the dark. So let the owl be a mirror tonight, one that reflects a truer side of you, the side that knows without needing to explain, the side that listens with every cell of your being, the part that survives, adapts, that senses meaning floating just beneath the surface of things. The owl does not rush, neither should you. Let your doubts drift down like feathers. Let the branches of uncertainty still themselves. You don't need to solve or answer, only to hold yourself kindly in this drifting. The owl sees you. And perhaps your own deep knowing sees you too. Close your eyes, glide carefully into sleep. You may not be flying through forests tonight, but some part of you is in motion, quietly steering through darkness, with more precision than you know. Your body softens, your thoughts slow their orbit, and your inner owl, your sleeping intelligence, begins to map out the night. Let it. There is nothing to hold on to now. Only gravity, only breath, only softness. Let your mind rotate slowly in the dark, just as the owl turns her head toward some sound long before it reaches her wings. Let your breath be silent flight. Let your stillness become knowing. Let your sleep become science and sanctuary. Because even in sleep, something wise is watching over you, something within you, as quiet and capable as feathered flight. And now, there is nothing more to do but rest and dream. Beneath every forest, beneath trees that stretch to the stars, beneath owl-haunted skies and the hush of night wind, there is another forest. Darker, older, invisible, unless you are very quiet, unless you listen with more than ears, with breath, with stillness, with the old part of your body that remembers caves and moss and firelight. This is the underground world, the symphony beneath the soil. Tonight, we take off the boots of daily thought and step barefoot into that hidden layer where life hums without eyes and the oldest intelligence in the world glows softly in the dark. Picture the soil, not as dirt, but as a living sky turned inward. Each handful is alive with countless universes. A single teaspoon contains billions of microorganisms, all moving, sensing, adapting. It is easy to forget this. The world teaches us to look up for brilliance, to associate the sky with life and soil with rot. But here, in these quiet underlayers, life has always been exponential, smart, soft, and humble. Beneath the forest floor lies an ancient network of intelligence, a rich microbiome of bacteria, archaea, fungi, and tiny invertebrates called meiofauna. Some glow, some speak chemically, some have been alive far longer than the trees above. And just like our own bodies, the forest depends on what is happening beneath the surface. It is, in truth, a mirror of our own inner life. Let's begin with something bioluminescent. Yes, even in the dark decay of fallen bark and damp hollows, there is light. Mycena chlorophyss, Panella stypticus, Omphalotus olearius. These are bioluminescent fungi, so faint they can only be seen when your eyes are fully adjusted to the dark. They do not glitter like fireworks. They glow, softly, steadily, like old secrets that want to be remembered. A ghostly green or blue light, spilling gently from decaying wood, like thought from a quiet mind. We still don't fully understand why some fungi glow. Is it for attracting insects to help spread spores, or is it simply a remnant of some ancient chemical self-expression? What we do know is that it is communication at a biochemical level. Through light, tiny signals blinking out into the leafy hush. It's the forest whispering in wavelengths, storytelling in glow. Your body does this too, not in light, but in microbiological whispers. Your gut speaks to your brain every moment of the day, not with words, but with molecules, metabolites, signals passed silently. This underground glow is not for you to see, but for the forest to feel. Imagine now the smallest mind that ever thought. Not a person, not even a brain, but a single-celled microbe drifting somewhere dark, tasting the chemical weather, reacting, surviving. It turns toward the nutrients it needs, moves away from danger, forms connections, saves energy, changes strategy in response to stress. Does that sound familiar? Many scientists now compare microbial collectives to primitive cognitive systems. Not consciousness, no, but a form of distributed intelligence. Just like neurons, microbes fire chemical messages. They recognize patterns, store responses. They learn, slowly, quietly. Some fungal colonies are over 2,000 years old. Some mycelial nets span miles underground, thinking, adapting, feeding trees, defending territory. They are ancestors of the nervous system. Before brains, there was soil. Before memory, there was movement in the dark. When you walk through a forest, you're walking on invisible memory. You're stepping across an ancient, unspoken mind. The forest has its root mind, and you too carry one. Inside you, there is another nervous system, one not made of neurons, but of microbes. Your gut microbiome, a swirling interior world of trillions of bacteria, viruses, and archaea, responds to emotion, impacts cognition, and shapes the way you feel joy, fear, hunger, peace, and stress. This relationship is so intimate, so foundational, that scientists refer to the gut as our second brain. Inside your colon, certain strands of bacteria produce neurotransmitters, like serotonin and dopamine, molecules that dance through the brain to regulate emotion. The vagus nerve, the great wandering receiver, connects gut to brain like a river of intuition. When you feel it in your gut, you really are feeling something. Chemical, real, intelligent, like a voice from your personal earth layer. Let's sit here for a moment. Imagine yourself deep beneath the tree, not above ground, chasing thoughts like leaves, but below, where things don't shout, where change is slow, where everything reacts, listens, and adapts in true, rich silence. The creatures here don't make headlines. They don't seek glory, but they support the entire biome above. So too, do your slowest thoughts, your quietest realizations, the parts of yourself you forget exist, until stress flares or peace returns. Just because something is quiet doesn't mean it's unimportant. Just because something is dark doesn't mean it's unknowable. The forest, beneath the forest, is active, recycling, replenishing, reviving. Decay becomes nourishment. What once was lost becomes food for the future. Your emotions are like this too. The ones you buried, the ones stored deep in the soil of the psyche. Given time and breath, they transform. What we let go of becomes what we grow from. Beneath the trees, you'll find the meiofauna, microscopic forest creatures with ancient names and quiet purposes. Tardigrades, sometimes called water bears, traverse soil crystals like astronauts in mineral suits. Nematodes, rotifers, springtails, mites, invisible architects of decay, remind us that even the tiniest efforts matter. Under the right lens, their forms are beautiful, translucent, alien, delicate. And their role is crucial. They break matter down. They oxygenate soil. They cycle nutrients. No movement too small, no task unworthy. Within your own body, your own mind, there are equally tiny processes keeping you alive. Cellular, repair during sleep, hormonal rebalancing, neural recalibration. Tonight, even as you lay motionless, small things are at work, clearing the debris of mental clutter, composting the excess stress, tending the orchard of tomorrow's energy. Like tiny creatures beneath the trees, they ask for no credit, only stillness, only time. Remember this: the most vibrant moments in a forest don't always happen high in the canopy. They often happen deep in the leaf litter, where mushrooms rise after rain, and roots stretch gently into rock, and decomposition becomes reinvention. Likewise, your most powerful transformations may not be loud or obvious. They may begin when you allow yourself to rest, when you surrender to softness, when you trust the things happening beneath awareness. The symphony beneath the soil doesn't need light to grow. It needs moisture, patience, stillness, trust, exactly the way your inner life does. Now, close your inner eyes. Sink below the surface of thought, as if your mind were moss-covered earth, cool, spongy, soft. Let your breath deepen like loam. Let your muscles become quiet sands. The forest beneath the forest is still at work, and so is your body's gentle interior. You do not need to guide it. You do not need to understand everything. Just let each breath be a root, each exhale a gentle nutrient returning to the soil. The dark is not empty. It is full of life, of learning, of love. So you may sleep easy, knowing that while you rest, something ancient stirs within you, something rich and unseen, like the forest's quietest violin. This is the symphony beneath the soil, and tonight it plays just for you. Close your eyes now, not tightly but softly, like eyelids sinking beneath the weight of a tender memory. The trees outside are sleeping too. Their branches sway with the rhythm of deep time. The moss glows faintly with moon-dappled dreams. And somewhere beyond the reach of your thoughts, something begins to stir, not in the waking world, but in the dream world, where nothing walks with footsteps, but everything moves. A fox curls in a thicket of sweet fern, his breathing slow and velvet smooth, his nose twitches just slightly, eyes closed, but behind those lids, a chase unfolds, some remembered scent or imagined thrill, playing out in flickers of dream light. Somewhere else, a deer flicks her ears in sleep, legs trembling with dreamt motion, as if running through shadowed meadows, lit only by memories. And you, now warm and safe beneath your own blanket of stars, are part of this same quiet theater. The forest is dreaming, and so are you. There's a quiet question most of us ask as children, kneeling next to a sleeping dog, or watching a kitten twitch its whiskers mid-nap. Are they dreaming? The answer, according to decades of gentle science, is yes. And not only do they dream richly. They dream with texture, with old experience and imagined futures. They dream in places and stories and moments, just like we do. In studies with rats in sleep labs, scientists discovered that the same neurons that fire as a rat runs a maze during the day also fire in the same sequence while the rat sleeps. As if, in its tiny dreaming mind, the rat is running the course again, but not just rerunning. The firing patterns speed up, shift, adapt. From this, scientists believe the brain isn't simply replaying, it's editing, refining, imagining a better version of the experience. Even the smallest brain is practicing, perfecting, predicting. In dreams, they are not just memories, they are lessons. They are whispers of what might become. Sleep itself arrives like waves, not all at once, but in spirals. The night is not one single dreaming state. You begin in the shallow shoreline of light sleep, slipping gently between wakefulness and surrender. Then, deeper, into non-REM sleep, where your body repairs and your brain begins to shift and settle. And then comes something stranger, something luminous and wild. REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, the place where dreams bloom brightest. During REM, your brain becomes more active, almost as active as when awake. But your body? Still, gently paralyzed. Nature's way of protecting you from acting out the vivid dream world you are spinning inside. In this space, your brain reactivates emotional memories, untangles knots of confusion, and interlaces symbols and feelings in a tapestry of understanding that would be impossible in waking thought. It is art, done in silence, done in sleep. And you're not alone in this. In the nighttime forest, the dream world is alive, not just in you, but in every heart that has quieted. A songbird, having sung itself hoarse after hours of melody under the sun, tucks its head beneath its wing. Its tiny body, no heavier than a handful of breath, enters REM. And just like that, the songbird dreams. Scientists who've observed birds in sleep found that they, too, seem to re-experience melodies, that they rehearse and refine their songs in sleep. Imagine it. Somewhere, a nightingale is rehearsing dawn before it ever arrives, singing silently in its mind, long before any living ear will hear it. Foxes, deer, bats suspended beneath branches, mice curled in hollow logs, even octopuses, yes, even sea creatures in tide pools, show signs of REM-like states, their color-changing skin pulsing in rhythm with imagined movements. Dream is not rare. It is not even uniquely human. It is part of the biological poetry of existence. And out here, under the moon-drenched pines, all the forest becomes a dreaming body. While the shapes of dreams may feel ethereal, their purpose runs deep. During REM sleep, connections strengthen between distant parts of the brain. The emotional centers like the amygdala, and the storytelling centers of memory and awareness. Studies suggest this is when emotional charge is reduced, when frightening or painful experiences are gently worked through, without fully reawakening the wound. Psychologist Matthew Walker calls it overnight therapy. The brain, uninterrupted by chatter, soothes itself through metaphor and sensation. And even more astonishing, dreams inspire insight. They allow creative leaps we rarely achieve while awake. Paul McCartney dreamed the entire melody to Yesterday. The structure of the Benson ring was dreamed by scientist Friedrich Kekulé as a snake biting its own tail, a symbol as old as mythology itself. Dreaming is an engine of reconstruction. It rebuilds not just memories, but interpretations. It gives emotion a stage, so that the heart can hear its own impulses more clearly. Let that sink in now. Breathe into it. You, just like the red fox, just like the nesting songbird, just like something curled in the moss, are a dreaming animal. You are part of a long, unbroken lineage of living things sculpting meaning in their sleep. Your brain knows how to let go. It knows how to dream, even when you don't try. In the background, as your muscles soften and your body slows, as your consciousness slips sideways, a part of you is stitching threads into patterns, turning ache into art, turning symbol into solace. Your dreams may not always make sense, but they matter, not because of what they reveal, but because of what they help make room for. Clarity, healing, surprise, mercy. The forest at night is not quiet, not really. It's layered with hush, with songs too small for the ear, movements too subtle for eye. So is your dreaming mind, always in motion, always adjusting. Think of your dreams as animals of the self, some bold, some shy, some strange and wild and untamed. Don't chase them, don't cage them. Let them wander like moonlight through branches, like deer through the underbrush. Not everything must be understood. Some dreams are not meant to be decoded, only honored like spilled ink or passing clouds. Now, as your own REM edges closer, as your breath fills and releases slowly, feel the soft pull of dreams. A beginning, a doorway. Perhaps you'll follow a river that sings in a language you almost understand. Perhaps you'll visit someone long gone and say what couldn't be said. Perhaps nothing at all, only sensation, only movement, only color or rhythm or light. No wrong way to dream, no single path, only wandering, only witnessing, just like life. So let your thoughts fade now, like frost melting into earth. Let yourself become soft again. Not mind, not identity, just something warm and alive in the darkness. Let your dreams find you. Let them bloom without judgment. You don't need to direct them. They are wiser than you remember. They belong to more than just your mind. They belong to your lineage, to your primal, beautiful, breathing self, to the invisible threads that connect everything that lives and everything that sings in sleep. Tonight, the fox dreams, the owl dreams, the trees, in their own slow language, remember moonlight and cradle the dark. And you are part of this. So breathe deep, dreamer. Wherever the mind wanders tonight, the forest walks beside it. In scent, in story, in sleep. Now the forest has become all shadow and softness. Light thins like breath on a mirror. And you, still and warm, are adrift in the gentle hour. This is the time when defenses lower, when vigilance exhales. Not because there is no danger, but because inside you, a deeper part of awareness is beginning to trust. Darkness doesn't turn the mind off, it turns a different mind on. Not the one that performs, calculates, or plans, but the one that heals. There are pathways within you that only open when the world falls silent. They do not shout, they do not reason. They require no effort, only stillness and a little belief. Let us now travel softly into that quiet place, where sleep and safety pull the same thread, and the body begins to remember what it means to rest, truly rest. Within your body is a system of balance, of sensing and responding, of preparing and recovering. It is called your autonomic nervous system, and like a river split in two, it flows in dual directions. One branch prepares you for fight, for challenge, for movement. It is the raindrum in your chest, the alert breath, the quickening before action. This is the sympathetic nervous system, and it is essential for survival, for courage, for waking motion. But tonight is not about sharpness. Tonight is about softening. The second current, the nighttime current, is quieter, almost immeasurable in its gentle power. It is the parasympathetic nervous system, and it carries the chemistry of calm. It moves like moonlight through water, restoring you without shouting, rebuilding you without hurry. It is often called the rest and digest state, but those words, though accurate, feel small compared to what it truly does. This system is the healer, the unraveler, the sweet lull between storms. When it activates, your heart rate settles, your muscles release, your thoughts loosen their grip, your immune system awakens, and somewhere deep in your mind, a voice you barely knew how to hear whispers, "You are safe now. You are allowed to rest." Let that sink in again. Not as an idea, but as a sensation. You are allowed to rest. One of the key pathways connecting you to your parasympathetic state is something you cannot see, but that moves through you like an invisible lullaby. It is called the vagus nerve, from the Latin vagare, meaning to wander. And indeed, this lovely nerve wanders. from the base of your brainstem. It curves down through your neck, threading through your heart and lungs, your digestive system, your belly, your core. Like a weaver's shuttle, it binds brain to body with a sacred thread of biology and emotion. When the vagus nerve is gently stimulated through slow breathing, soft touch, warm light, even humming, your entire internal world shifts. Your body receives the message, not now for fear. Instead, now is the time for healing. Activating the vagus can be as simple as placing your hand over your chest and letting your breath move like waves. Inhale slowly, as if sipping the silence. Exhale fully, as if pouring it out into the stars. This phone line between your breath and your brain is always open, and every slow exhale makes your cells feel more held. There is something sacred about dim light, not just poetic, but truly powerful. When daylight dims, your body begins a transformation that is neither rushed nor controlled. It is secret, ancient, involuntary. Your pineal gland, a tiny light-sensitive structure in the brain, begins to secrete melatonin, a hormone often misnamed as the molecule of sleep. But melatonin is not the off switch. It's the invitation to descend. It signals gently. Now is the time. Now is the hour. Come into the slow. Sleep doesn't arrive like a soldier. It arrives like dusk coming through window curtains, like music lowering in a distant room, like the feeling of being wrapped in a story, a feeling you don't have to carry anymore. It's important to remember, we don't fall asleep by trying. We fall asleep by allowing something inside us dissolve into trust. Melatonin, dim light, safety, they are not magic, but they are messages. Messages from world to body, body to brain, saying, return. Return to rhythm, return to softness, return to yourself, across history, before clocks, before blue light, before the day never truly ended. Nights were for stillness, and in that stillness, the body restored what the day had worn away. Not just physically, but emotionally. We now know that certain neural pathways only strengthen when the nervous system is in a parasympathetic state. Memory consolidation, immune system repair, wound healing, emotional regulation. It's not just nice to feel calm before bed, it's how the architecture of your inner world rebuilds itself. In stress, the brain becomes narrow, focused only on risk-threat reaction. But in calm, the brain expands. Creativity returns. Problem-solving improves. Perspective widens. You remember what matters and what doesn't. And the body listens too. Wounds close more quickly. Inflammation recedes. Pain eases. It's not a miracle. It's biology in balance. It's the nervous system doing what it was designed to do when it knows it is protected. The good news is this: you don't need perfection to heal. You need process. You need repetition. Small kindnesses. Something safe and sensory and slow. You need rituals. Not the rigid kind, but the sensory, sacred kind. Turning off bright lights. Washing your face with warm water. Lighting a candle. Reading a book with gentle words. Listening to slow music. Letting lavender or cedar or some scent you love fill the room just a little. These gestures are not indulgent. They are reminders to your body you are allowed to put the weight down. You made it. There is no task here but return. You may even say to yourself, like a lullaby from within, tonight is not for effort. Tonight is for exhale. Let your mind wind down without needing to make meaning. Your body already knows the way. It remembers. Isn't it interesting how hard it can be to fall asleep when we don't feel safe? Even when nothing is wrong, even when all doors are locked, when no real danger prowls. There's a reason. The nervous system is not ruled by logic, it is ruled by felt experience. The body doesn't ask, "Is this rational?" The body only asks, "Are we safe enough to let go?" And since sleep is one of the most vulnerable states the body can enter, it only comes freely when that ancient part of your system senses, yes, there is peace here. So we tend our space to remind ourselves that we belong, that we are surrounded not by threat, but by warmth, by softness, by scent, by quiet, by familiarity, by rhythm. We place the book on the nightstand, we dim the lights low, we breathe like we are loved, because in doing so, the animal in us exhales and the human in us begins to dream. Now we return to where we began, not with ideas, but with feeling. It's not always easy to surrender, but sleep, like softness, isn't taken. It's given by the body, when we create the conditions for its surrender. Think of your nervous system like a garden. The sympathetic system is sunlight and action, but the parasympathetic system, that's rain and soil and silent growth. At night, in the dark, without anyone watching, your brain restores synapses, your muscles lose their tension, your breath becomes tender, and your dreams begin to speak. It is okay to sink, it is okay to float, it is okay to let sleep take you, like a gentle hand, on the shore of the self. So now, let your breath slow, let your shoulders unhook from the past. There is no chase here, only the quiet invitation of the nervous night. Somewhere in your chest, the vagus nerve hums like a lullaby. Your heart responds by softening. Your breath listens and answers slowly. The shadows are not a threat. They are a softening, a signal, a sanctuary. Tonight, you do not need to be better. You only need to be willing to let it all go. Darkness holds you now like dusk holds the earth. Not as punishment, but as peace. Sleep is not forgetting, it is rejoining. Welcome back to the safe, slow place inside yourself. Sleep well, dear dreamer. The forest, the night, and your nervous system are already holding you close. The forest, now deep in its dreaming hour, does not fall into darkness all at once. It glows, softly, quietly, as if it is remembering something, not with thoughts, but with flickers. Tiny pulses of gold rising from the earth like whispers. They do not burn, they beckon. They do not shine in permanence, only in moments, like the mind, like memory, like feeling. You are not alone here in this darkness. You are surrounded by ancient signals, by small and glowing voices, fireflies blinking their gentle light. These lights are more than beauty. They are messages, invisible letters written in the alphabet of the night. And like the flicker of a firefly across still air, your emotions often arrive without explanation, glowing briefly, meaningfully, and then gone. Let's walk slowly now, through this soft field of light and feeling, and explore how the language of the forest and the language of the heart are made of the same quiet pulses. A firefly is not trying to impress you. Its glow is not a spectacle. It is survival. It is song. It is emotion in a biological language. When a firefly glows, it is delivering a message. Sometimes it is seeking love. Other times it is sending warning, a natural display that says, I am not safe to eat. I am not worth chasing. But almost always it is connection. Fireflies communicate through patterns of light, rhythms that differ between species, individual, and purpose. A male flashes in a sequence that signals his identity. A female may respond, or not, depending on her recognition. Entire light choreographies unfold in wild grass, in ways scientists are still decoding. They are not speaking words. And yet they are speaking. They are not thinking in our way. And yet they carry intention. If you watch a forest at night and see just beauty, you're not wrong. But you are also seeing biology radiating intelligence from a body no larger than your fingertip. Each flicker, an echo of purpose, a pulse of instinct, a question. Are you there? And maybe the soft golden reply, yes, I see you. Inside you is a temple of flickers, a vast dark sky where signals shine and fade. Your limbic system, deep beneath the folds of your cerebral cortex, is the part of your mind that glows with emotion. It is the region of instinctive knowing, where fear, love, joy, longing, grief, and pleasure first rise like sparks, before they are named. The amygdala, almond-shaped and alert, reaches out within a radar, interpreting stimuli, tagging memories, tying emotion to moments. The hippocampus, this organ of stories and sequences, records where the feelings happened, here with them during that season, under that sky. And the hypothalamus, silently adjusting the stage, changing hormones, igniting tears, dilating pupils, tuning the body to match the mood. You glow too, not outwardly, but through emotion signals that pulse like internal fireflies. They say, something matters here. Slow down. This hurts. This is beautiful. Hold on to this. Let go. Emotion isn't weakness. Emotion is internal light. It tells the nervous system which way to turn. Like fireflies, feelings are never random, just briefly mysterious. There's something interesting about a firefly's light. It's not warm. It's cold light, a pure, almost perfect biological efficiency, a chemical cocktail of luciferin and enzymes, oxygen and magic. It doesn't sting. It doesn't set the world on fire. It simply glows. Hope, too, is a cold light. It lives in the body like a whisper, not a yell. It flickers when darkness surrounds, not to erase it, but to make it livable. Hope isn't loud. It's the quiet pulse that says, maybe this can change. Maybe morning will return. Even in grief or fatigue or overwhelm, hope pulses on. You may not always see it, but it lives, particularly when we rest. Studies show that awe, wonder, and beauty regulate the nervous system, reducing stress, improving immune tissue, increasing connectedness. They let us feel less alone, less helpless, more safe. So when you watch the fireflies dance, when you remember their flash, your parasympathetic nervous system listens. Something ancient relaxes, something cosmic arrives. You are seeing not just insects, but information from another time, reminding your modern brain, mystery is not chaos, it is medicine. Let this thought drift now like fog. Your feelings aren't flaws, they're fireflies. They flicker up when something matters, when something needs remembering, when something must be felt, so it may be freed. In the natural world, animals do not hide their signals. A deer stands still, ears high, chest still, when afraid. A cat purrs with contentment, but also to self-soothe. A mourning dove grieves out loud. Your nervous system, in its infinite wisdom, designed feelings, not to be suppressed, but to be communicated. Just like fireflies respond to one another's glow in the dark. Feelings are not noise. They are meaning before language. Emotion is the original shared light between minds. There's a reason you may feel more emotional at night. When the world goes quiet, when interruption fades, the mind finally has time to unbury what it rushed past all day. Neuroscience shows that as we descend into rest, the prefrontal cortex, our rational manager, begins to slow, while the emotional mind opens like a night-blooming flower. Suddenly, memories rise, regrets sigh, Missing someone becomes a soft ache. Longings become dreams. But something else happens too. In this quiet state, your emotional integration begins. The prefrontal cortex may dim, but your limbic system starts weaving patterns. It reshapes relationships. It tags emotion to memory. It makes room for what you couldn't feel earlier. This is natural and necessary and not shameful. It is your emotional fireflies, blinking beneath your ribs, saying, "We're ready now to be seen." Outside, the forest does not hurry. Feelings arrive and pass in waves as they do in wind and tide. The tree does not fight the fall of its leaves. The bear does not shame itself for going quiet in winter. The firefly does not panic when its light fades after blinking. Everything in the natural world lives by wave. And so do you. Anxiety, calm, joy, grief, anticipation, rest, flicker, glow, vanish, return. Your emotional rhythms are not linear, they are lunar, migratory, bioluminescent. You don't need to explain each one. You don't need to catch them in jars or trace them to origin. You only need to honor them. Open the window, let them fly. Now, let your body settle. Sink into the quiet curve of night. No goals, no fixing, no naming. Imagine your chest filled with small lights, tiny, flickering symbols of all the feelings that passed through you today. Some still lingering, some dimming softly, others waiting to blink again later. There is no need to judge the light. Just watch. Let the forest of your inner life be filled with pulsing emotion, each one trying simply to be known. Like fireflies, each glow contains a story, but the story doesn't always need to be told, only felt. As you rest, as your own limbic system unwinds from the narratives of the day, you may feel things rise. Let them. They are not in the way of your sleep. They are part of it. They are part of what helps you arrive at calm, at healing, at wholeness. The forest still glows, not brightly, not boldly, just enough. A rhythm, a breath, a feeling. This too is you. Tonight, let your mind soften. Let your heart become a field of waving grass, where fireflies land and lift again, where every emotion is just visiting, on its way to becoming ease. Wonder isn't a distraction. It is peace. It is emotional regulation by beauty. Medicine made of metaphor. The fireflies know the way in the dark. And now, so do you. Sleep well, gentle glow of thoughts. You are part of the pattern. Pulse, flicker, feeling, rest. And the forest is with you. Listen, there it is. The soft, familiar hush, the gentle percussion of rain weaving itself through leaves and air. Not harsh, not stormy, just the slow and steady language of water finding earth. It doesn't ask for attention. It doesn't demand anything from you. It arrives softly, for needles catching droplets like tiny hands, moss heavy with quiet gladness, log and stone echoing back in puddled whispers. In the forest, rain is not just water, it's rhythm, it's memory. It's an ancient lullaby whispered in every hair on your skin. Rain doesn't interrupt the night, it becomes it, one hush inside another. And somewhere inside you, your body remembers this. Even if you've never slept beneath trees, even if your windows have always placed you between yourself and the world, still, your nervous system knows the feeling of rainfall. Because rain doesn't just reach the earth, it reaches you. There's a phenomenon we've only just begun to understand as humans, but your body has known it, always. Certain sounds, gentle, repetitive, ambient, and organic, calm the nervous system, soften the mind, usher us into rest without a single demand. The sound of light rain, for example, has a predictable, low-frequency pattern, not jarring, not novel, not needing your attention. And because of that, your evolutionary mind lets go. It doesn't need to watch the sound for danger. Because there is none, it relaxes into a rhythm, like a rocking boat, like a mother's heartbeat in the womb, like tides, like crickets, like breath. Researchers have found that natural, low-volume sounds, like light rainfall or wind in leaves, can reduce cortisol levels, dampen limbic arousal, and even shift brainwaves from alert, beta frequencies to slower, deeper, theta and delta waves associated with rest and sleep. But we don't just listen to rain with our ears. We listen with history, with the body, with the emotional memory stored in our bones. If you've ever noticed that music calms you, or rocking brings peace, or rain calms your chest after a long, hard day, you are not imagining it. The brain is wired for repetition, and especially wounded brains, brains that have experienced trauma, loss, chronic stress. Search for reliable patterns. Not drama, not surprise, not noise, but kind repetition. Trauma can cause the threat detection system, most often found in the amygdala, to remain heightened, hypervigilant, reactive, ready, even when nothing's wrong. The presence of gentle, rhythmic sound, the steady drum of rain against the window, or the slow pacing of ocean waves, helps re-establish a sense of environmental predictability. This quiet predictability is medicine. Rhythmic sound, over time, resets the threat response loop. And just like water carving stone, you begin to soften. Not all at once, but enough. Enough to breathe, enough to untangle, enough to fall into sleep like roots finding soil. Now let's speak of another gentle phenomenon, one that science is beginning to understand, but that every sensitive heart has felt. Asthma, the tingle feeling, the whisper that soothes, the sounds that make you melt without knowing why. Scientific name, autonomous sensory meridian response. But names never hold the full story. The feeling for many is subtle and loving. It arises with soft speech, delicate, repetitive gestures, and slow sounds like tapping, brushing, humming, and rain. But why does it feel so good? Preliminary studies suggest that ASMR experiences are linked to activation in areas of the brain associated with affiliation, bonding, and comfort, particularly the medial prefrontal cortex, a region linked with safety, trust, and emotional regulation. For some, it mimics the sensation of being cared for, the feeling of being close to someone gentle, like fingers brushing your hair slowly, like shelter in the downpour. Rain in this way becomes a kind of non-verbal caregiver, for the adult, for the inner child, for the tired system that rarely pauses. Each drop a whisper saying, "You are not alone. You are home now." Rain carries memory, not memory in the way humans tell it, not names and dates and faces. But rain remembers where it has been. It cycles. It moves. It evaporates, condenses, falls, flows. The same water you feel cooling the back of your neck may once have fallen in ancient forests, traveled through riverbanks thousands of years ago, danced across the surface of forgotten oceans. In this way, the forest remembers rain as part of its cycle of peace, and your body echoes that remembrance. When the rain falls, you fall with it, into trance, into rhythm, into rest. Your heart slows. Your muscles drop their grip. Gratitude flickers without needing to be named. You've heard this lullaby before, somewhere, long ago, or maybe 1,000 times in the womb, when blood and breath and heartbeat were the only sounds. Rain isn't loud in that way, but it is ancient. It doesn't need to be understood. To remind you how to heal, picture this: a sleeping tree. Raindrops on its 1,000 needled arms, roots reaching through dampened earth, Everything slow, everything known, no fear, only relation, only surrender. The forest listens to rain not as noise, but as confirmation. This is how things grow. This is how silence deepens. Studies in ecoacoustics show that soundscapes, the complete experience of a biome's sound, shape not only mood but stress physiology. In animals, including humans, when that soundscape includes rainfall, clear patterns emerge, lower heart rate, slower respiration, increased parasympathetic activity, suggesting the body's natural healing systems are being gently called in, like doves returning to roost. The body, like the tree, soaks it in. Somewhere inside you, your brain doesn't intellectualize rain. It reacts instantly, almost primitively. Rain offers what silence alone cannot. It offers absence inside presence. Unlike silence, which can sometimes feel stark or empty, rain carries you. It offers stimulation without stress, complexity without demand, texture without edge. It's this balance that allows the brain to rest. Sound masking research confirms that people sleep more deeply and awaken less often with low-level, natural white noise, especially rainfall. It masks the world, but doesn't erase it. It gives just enough to let your mind release. It gives continuity, infinite unfolding, just like thought, but softer. So close your eyes if you haven't already. Let the sound of imagined rainfall, or maybe the real patter just outside, carry you. Each drop a dot of rhythm, each pooling puddle a rest note in your lullaby. You don't need to chase anything. You don't need to solve. The rain doesn't. The rain just arrives and falls. And that is enough. Let go now. Let every sound around you become part of the same rhythm, even the ones beyond control. A fan, a car, a whisper from the hallway. Let it all be rain. Let your nervous system interpret it all as rhythm and reassurance. There's nothing to hold together right now. Even the trees are sleeping. Even the fox has curled beneath its hollow. Even the moss is exhaling. Let your own breath become water. Let your ribs drip gently back into your body. Let your heart become soft soil, welcoming every drop without fear. The rain remembers. The body remembers. The forest remembers. And even if you don't remember why you were tired or what you've been carrying, the rain does. It remembers your rhythm, and it returns to bring it home. Let the lullaby of water carry you now, into sleep, into peace, into the soft forest beneath thought. And now, the forest is quiet again. The roots have stopped murmuring. The owls have found their high, hidden homes. Fireflies blink a little slower, like the slowing of thoughts before sleep. Inside your own mind, something has softened. Not a forgetting, but a weaving. Of curiosity, clarity, calm. The science we wandered through tonight wasn't meant for the mind to memorize, but for the heart to feel safe inside of. All those facts were really just leaves on the same tree, a tree of belonging, of beauty, of bedtime. Tonight your nervous system remembers it can trust the dark again. It remembers how the sounds of leaves soothe the old vigilant mind. It remembers how the hum of biology is also the music of being alive. Rest gently. You are part of this ancient, intelligent forest, both made of mystery, both deeply worthy of rest. Tomorrow will come, and with it the sun. But for now, sleep. Let each thought fall like a pine needle, each breath like a new moon rising. Sleep is not escape. It is returning home to yourself. Good night, dreamer of trees. The forest is with you. Always.